Welcome to Living in Purpose on Purpose. I'm your host, Jamie Hansel, and welcome to my podcast. What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in once again to Living in Purpose on Purpose podcast. Before we get started today for today's episode, I wanted to give a couple shout outs. And when I say a couple, I mean literally one. Shout out to Corey with New Era Media, who's helping me record all of this and helping me get this out to you guys. This is our first official video podcast, whatever you want to call it, for this year, and I'm super excited because it's the start of something big. So shout out to him with New Era Media. Make sure you're following him on Instagram at New Era Media 22, and from there you'll be able to link to everything else he has. So shout out to you. Thank you so much. He just gave me the thumbs up. But before we get into the rest of the episode, also I just wanted to let you guys know that this is going to be our new way of showing you guys the podcast. We are going to also still upload the audio on all streaming platforms. However, now you can go on YouTube and see me. So this is definitely something new for me. Please bear with me. This is my first time really being in front of the camera like this. However, it is something that's here to stay. So make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like, and share with your friends and family or even strangers. Today, we're going to be talking about walking in our purpose right now. I feel like a lot of times we get focused on the future. We have this mindset or this mind frame that we have for our future selves, who we want to be, where we want to go, what we want to do, but we forget that right now is very important because it shapes our future. Embracing the journey right now is so important when we start talking about walking in your purpose right now. Every step you take during your journey is literally going towards discovering and fulfilling your purpose, not only now, but also in the future. Sometimes it's really hard because the uncertainty and the whole trust factor of, okay, am I even doing the right thing? Am I going in the right direction? And some of those things only come by living. You're not sure exactly what you want to do. You're not sure of if this is the right fit for you. You're not sure if you're actually even doing the right thing until you actually do it. Everything else is a hypothetical if you don't actually do it. That's why it's so important that along the journey, you try different things, you meet new people, you connect in different areas, you try new things, you put things down, you just try to do different things to help you discover your purpose. Right now, we're walking in it, or we're walking in what we think is our purpose, but sometimes that can change. Here on this podcast, we talk about living in our purpose, doing it on purpose, but we also talk about what that looks like. How do we know what our purpose is? When do we discover what our purpose is? What if our purpose change? And within all of that, you have to know that you have to embrace in the journey, because through the journey is how you discover what your purpose consists of. Being present and living in the moment is super important and key to walking your purpose right now. When we're talking about our future, being in the moment and being present literally lays the foundation for your future purpose, whatever you got going on, who you're trying to be, who you're trying to become. If you're not soaking it all in right now, kind of like we already talked about with embracing the journey, you forget these key moments that happens right in front of you. And in the future, when you may need to pull on some of these experiences or pull on a relationship that you got connected to or pull on a resource, you were so focused on, I got to get there, that you forget to really take and assess and take it all in right now, the things that you're learning. I know in my photography business, a lot of times I say, I want to be this type of photographer, this type of photographer, this type of photographer. But I forget, you're not that photographer just yet. So in this moment, you have to take in everything that you can get. When you meet certain people, you ask questions, you are seeing what their experiences were like. All of these things happen because you're present and in the moment. If I was so focused on where I'm trying to go, I'll forget all the lessons that come in between. Learning and growth is a key concept or key point when we talk about walking in our purpose right now. Everything that's happening to us right now is either going to be a lesson or a lesson for us. It sounds a little cliche, but whether it's good or bad, everything that happens to us right now while we're trying to walk in our purpose is going to help us in the future with whoever we are, whoever we want to become, wherever we're going. Even if your purpose changed from now into the future, because we all know that sometimes your purpose change. What you're doing right now might not be what you're doing in 10 years or 5 years. And sometimes we also mistake our purpose for our passions. And they're two different things, but that'd be another topic for another episode. But with learning and growth, every experience that we have is key. It's key to teach us whether it's a lesson that we need to know, okay, in the future, we don't want to do that. We want to work like this. We need to grow in this area, or it's going to grow us into who we are going to be. And we're going to keep those fundamentals that we learned to keep growing more and more into the future. Now, I will say walking in your purpose right now is very hard sometimes to understand that some things come as a lesson. We live in a microwavable society where we want things right now. We feel like, okay, if we start here, that's what we need, just need to get something out in 30 seconds. And sometimes we go through experiences that takes a while. Sometimes we waste a year or two doing something we thought was a part of our purpose, but it wasn't. Or it was a part of our purpose, but now we are doing a little bit of redirection, or we're kind of knuckling down. It's all good. It's all lessons. It's all helping us to grow. It is easier said than done. But today I'm trying to encourage you to make sure that you're taking it in as learning and growing, because we're walking in our purpose. Now, the next point of walking in your purpose right now consists of taking action. I feel like this is the one thing that we all kind of can agree on that is kind of the hardest. Now, they're all pretty difficult if you ask me, but taking action is usually one of the biggest problems that we have as purposeful living people. We want to get the purpose part out of it. We like that. We like the future that we're going to have. However, we don't want to put in the work right now to get what we want in the future. But taking action has to be one of the most important things that you have to do. The Bible says that faith without works is dead. And without putting in the work, I don't know what you expect to get. There's so many things out there that we can accomplish or we can receive if we just put in the work, if we can take the action. Taking action is literally equivalent to putting in the work. A lot of times we don't realize that these steps and actions put together creates our purpose. And so if we don't want to actually put in those steps and actions to work towards that, the purpose is not just going to come to you. You have to work for it. When we say we're living in our purpose, that's great, but we're doing it on purpose. That's work. So that's the important part that we have to understand, that we can live in our purpose. Cool, we can be doing what we need to do. But if we're not doing it on purpose every single day, which means putting in the work every single day, and when I say every single day, I mean every single day, we can't expect to get out of it that somebody else that's putting in the work is getting. We can't expect to get the same results. So if you want to walk in your purpose right now, you have to make sure you're taking the actions right now, not just for your future self, but for your current self. Adapting to change is super important when walking in your purpose right now. I know I said that taking action was like the most important, but this is like coming very close second. Adapting to change means that you understand that sometimes in your life, the change that happened is not always linear. It's not always on this one straight line and you know exactly what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. Sometimes it goes up and down, up and down. Sometimes there's highs in your purpose, sometimes there's lows, but every time you have to understand that it is a journey. You have to embrace it. Just like we talked about in the first point, it is not always linear. These changes can come in and it may feel like you're at the bottom, but even if you are, you don't have to stay there. You have to understand that you need to adapt to those changes, use them to build you up, use them to give you more knowledge, use them to help grow you, to give it a lesson learned, and make sure that you're understanding that adapting to this very change is going to project you into the purpose you have in the future. Understand that going towards your purpose does not mean that you have to just follow one path all the time. You're able to go through and maneuver between the different lessons you learn, the different things that you have to do to understand that walking in your purpose is not linear. Once again, sometimes it may have ups and downs. Last but not least, another very important point. Honestly, y'all, I keep saying that, but every point is pretty important, okay? So if you keep hearing me say that, that's exactly why. All of these points are very vital when we're talking about walking in our purpose right now. But this particular point is mindful reflection. I know a lot of times we're still at the beginning of the year, that peak season where everyone's like, oh, new year, new me, got my whole vision board situation going on, which is fine and dandy. If that's what you want to do, great. But it's important throughout your entire year, your entire journey, your entire life, that you consistently do a mindful reflection, whether that's monthly, weekly, daily. Sometimes, honestly, I do it every day. I sit and I'm like, okay, what did I do today? Is this aligning with my aspirations, my goals, my I don't like to say dreams because I feel like dreams are just like a fairy tale. They come and they go. But I like to say goals and aspirations because these are things that we're trying to achieve. But I sit there and I think, I'm like, dude, this align with my goals? Is this where I'm trying to go? Does this look like who I'm trying to be? Does this sound like who I'm trying to be? Am I going somewhere that's going to be beneficial to me, that my future self would show up in the same spot? And so a lot of times I'll sit and think about those things because we don't like to do that. And a lot of times we waste time because it doesn't align with what we're doing, but we never take the time to sit and reflect on what we're doing and say, is this even going to benefit me in any way? Is this helping me push towards my purpose or helping me walk in my purpose right now? Not even just for the future, but even in this very moment. Is this lining me up to have a successful week by wasting 10 hours scrolling throughout the week on social media? Me going and just doing pointless things when I could be working on some goals that I have, reading a self-help book, whatever, listening to a great podcast like this one to help me motivate myself to push myself into the future in my purpose. Is this aligning with that? And that's one of the main things we have to make sure we do, because if we're not careful, a month will go by, a year will go by, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and everything happens for a reason. However, if you can alleviate some of these things by just simply reflecting on if you are aligning yourself with your goals and your aspirations, why not do that? And that's one of the key things that I feel like we can all work on as a whole, is reflecting and being mindful with that. So mindful reflection, not just sitting down and checking off a to-do list saying, okay, I did that, I did that, I did that. The whole point of mindful reflection is to sit and really think and ponder on what you did, why you did it. Is it helping for the future, obviously, but how is it helping my future? How is it pushing me in my purpose? How is it showing me that walking in this purpose right now is going to help me live in my purpose on purpose? That's all we want to do. We just want to make sure that we're aligning ourselves with where we're trying to go, and most importantly, where God is trying to take us. Well, that wrapped up another great episode. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Living in Purpose on Purpose. Every Sunday at 7 p.m., our audio podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, will be available. And now introducing our visual podcast here on YouTube every Wednesday at 7 p.m. See you guys later.